Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome to the September episode of Remakes with my co-host, Scott Harding from the You Run Podcast.
Hello.
Hi, welcome back.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here, and I'm very fitting today.
Same.
Yes, that's a big clue to what we're doing today. It's Friday the 13th.
It's clearly Friday. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I don't know what you do. What year did this come out?
2017.
17. So we're doing the 2017 remake of It Chapter 1.
Yes, which is awesome.
Agreed.
Arguably the greatest remake ever of the first half of the book.
You definitely have to put the separation in there.
you definitely do.
No, this one's great. This one's definitely up there in like my top 5 remakes for sure.
And this has got to be the remake that probably had the most amount of critical backlash before it even hit. Yeah. The amount of comments that I saw of people going, well, no one's ever going to be as good as Tim Curry. And then they released like the photos with like the grey and the red hair. And they're like, that is not what Pennywise looks like. And all these people online had an absolute tantrum. Bill Skarsgård turned up, delivered his first 4 lines, and everyone just went, we're not worthy, Bill. You did such a good job. You're amazing. And I love how like the entire horror community were like, we hate this. This is rubbish. And then when they saw it, went, this is amazing. This is so no conviction in what they were saying to start with.
Yeah. And see, this is where it comes to like being so open to remakes and stuff. I was really excited about this one. I never felt that way. I never was like unsure of it. I was like, nope, I'm just going to trust that it's going to be really good. I went and saw it. So both these come out usually in my birthday month when they release, even the original, which I wasn't alive for, no. And so so I went and saw this like opening weekend when it came out, and I left just like you know, like I was so happy. It was so good.
Yeah, and I think 90% of that is down to Bill, and the remaining 10% is down to that child cast is so strong.
They are
rock solid strong.
So good.
And even everything around it, even like the guy who works in the chemist, and you've got a cameo in here from Stephen King, and like all of that is just adds and adds and adds and builds, and everything in it is just pitch perfect, especially if you've read the book. This is the closest adaptation you'll get to that book.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah, I have not read this. I'm not actually a Stephen King book fan. I like a lot of the adaptations. I've only read Pet Sematary and The Shining.
Yeah.
I have not read this, but I have heard a lot of people say that though, that this is, you know, like way closer to the book and minus some of the sex stuff. But other than that, I really love this. The first, because the opening stuff with Georgie and the way that scene plays out is like, were you expecting that? I wasn't expecting like to actually see so much right away as far as like death and bad things happening to a child on camera. Like I wasn't. So like when that scene happened, I just assumed we were just going to see him drugged in.
Yeah, I didn't expect like arm off and crawling across and blood going down. I wasn't expecting that. That was kind of like
so good.
But such a good decision by the directors and producers, because we all know this story. We all grew up on Tim Curry. We know how this plays out. And to do something that we know, and we know it beat for beat. The boat goes down the well. Pennywise goes, do you want a balloon? Do you want your boat back? Georgie goes, yeah, great. And he gets dragged in. We all know it. To take it just that little bit further, and a scene we all know all of a sudden becomes oh my God moment. I didn't see that coming. And to do that when everyone knows what's going to happen is really difficult.
And then to make people like amazed in a positive way that was the change. Because so I like, it's so funny because I think I talk about this all the time, but like watching horror after I had my son was very different. I literally went and saw this the night I found out I was pregnant. And so like I just like I wasn't quite in the moment of like, oh my God, this poor child. So for me it was still pre-mother me, and I was very just like I was glad that they decided to see, like, you know, this child eater actually eating a child. Like I didn't expect to see that. So it was great. I loved it. And it to me sets the tone for the rest of the film of like, this is a different Pennywise, like different.
The stakes are much higher in this than
Right.
they ever were with Tim Curry, because Tim Curry was creepy and we know he killed people, but we never saw it. With this, you've seen it and you're like, I don't want any kid to go through that. It's a little bit like the scene in Doctor Sleep with Rose the Hat, where they get baseball boy. It is that level of like, I don't ever want to see another character go through that. And then when you meet the rest of the cast, you're continuously rooting for them, going, don't go in there. Don't do that.
You're right.
Stay together. And it instantly connects you to the cast because you don't want them to get that horrific fate because you've seen it.
Yeah. You're right. That's a good point. It definitely makes you more invested in them as characters because you got such an early glimpse of what could happen. That's a good point. Yeah, I didn't really think about that. Yeah. This is definitely like you know, I didn't see you know, even when I was younger and I saw the original I never really thought of it as like a super scary movie. It wasn't it was kind of like, it was dark, obviously the themes and stuff. But to me, it was always more on the lighter horror. It's a little more silly in parts. It just never was like over the top scary to me. But this movie's scary. Like the things that happen and the times that we meet Pennywise, and then like too, after I saw it, I learned a whole bunch of stuff about it that made it even better. And yeah, it surprised me. I went in with a pretty open mind, but it still surprised me.
Yeah, and Bill in this is great. I can't emphasize how terrifying he is. And if you watch a lot of the outtakes, and there is hundreds of outtakes for this, hundreds. He goes from being the most. So you know the bit where he gets the girl under the bleachers, the little girl?
And then he's like, "Are you okay? You're doing a good job."
Yeah, he's kind of really like really creepy and like ha ha, and then all the literally as soon as they shout cut, he like picks her up, gives her a hug, and like, "Are you okay? I think you're doing great. You're doing so much better than me because I'm really struggling with this." And have you seen the? I've shared it on my TikTok and Instagram with loads of times. Have you seen the alternate cut of the boat going down with Pennywise?
I think so.
If no one's seen it, go to it's at You Run Podcast on TikTok. It's one of my pinned things. So the boat goes down, it drops down the grate. Pennywise goes up. Do you want your boat back? And Georgie goes, yeah. And he goes like that. And Georgie just reaches in, snatches it off and goes, thanks. And then runs down the street going, bye. Right. So good. But apparently they shot that and they leaked that online prior to the movie release, which I didn't realize.
I didn't know that.
I found it. Yeah. So they shot that and then leaked it to make everyone go, oh, they've completely changed it.
That's funny. I didn't know that.
Yeah, really, really good. But his performance is, I really appreciate it because he didn't just copy Tim Curry, and that was the easy thing to do.
Yeah.
Made it his complete own. Yeah, and the easy option was to replicate Tim Curry because that works, and Tim Curry is iconic as Pennywise.
Yeah,
but he decided to go a completely different way with it. And I admire that because that's one of two things is happening when you do that. It either works really well like it did, or it's a disaster.
Yeah. Well, and then the other things that he did too, like the contortion stuff that he eventually does, he learned to do all of that himself. The eyes he learned to do himself. The scenes where he's later on, he's drooling, and all of that is him. Like a lot of people don't know those things. Like he learned to do a lot of those things so that they didn't have to be added or changed or enhanced later. He was able to just do them, which in my opinion makes it way creepier.
Yeah, especially for the child actors. If you've got it's not an after effect. You've actually got Pennywise
in front of
contorted
you
on the floor
Yeah.
or contorted in the fridge. Yeah, no,
No.
that's not for me.
And I'm sure you probably know this, but so they actually didn't get to see him. The first time that they see Pennywise is in the projector scene.
Yes.
So the reactions to him are almost completely genuine because they had not seen what he looked like completely ready to go as Pennywise. And so when he comes out and he's big and he's like moving forward and all these things are happening, which is like one of my favorite scenes, by the way. I thought that was so well done. They're, oh my God, like they had never seen him as Pennywise before. And I thought that's so smart because that's such a big scene for them to all be together and see him at the same time like that is a big moment in the movie. So it was a cool decision to be like, this will be the moment you guys get to actually see, you know, what it looks like.
And the same as when they done, so all of their individual scenes where they have sort of their one-on-one moments with Pennywise.
Yeah.
That was the first time they shot with him. And it was very much, they don't get a little chat first. They were briefed on what they were doing. Bill was briefed on what he was doing. Then it was, right, you're both in place, action. So when Pennywise comes around a corner or he comes out of a fridge or drops down from a ceiling, they know it's coming, but they're confronted with an actor they've not really spoken to properly, followed by a character they've not really seen. For a young kid, that's a lot to digest. That's what you do with adult actors. You don't do that with 12 and 13-year-old kids.
Yeah. That's a good point. And I think it adds, I mean, I'm sure it's a little traumatizing, but it definitely made the scenes more intense because they're good. All of them are really great actors anyway. I didn't think that none of them were weak links for me, but to know that, that they were able to take those scenes in that way and go with them in that way is, it seems like, you know, they're really talented. And I know a couple of them, one major one, obviously, but a couple of them have done a few other things and they all seem to be pretty doing well. I think most of them, but yeah, the kid actors were huge in this. I also really liked, the change up of the scenes when they're by themselves. So like, you know, when you see the original sink or the sink scene with Bev in the original, when she's little, it's like not as catastrophic as it is in the new one. And I thought like, all of those separate scenes is kind of going back to what we talked about with the Georgie scene. You thought you kind of knew what you were getting, and then it just ended up being way more amplified than you thought. And it made all of those scenes just like super memorable and way more effective.
Yeah, and they've done a better job. So one of the main sort of themes within the book is about childhood trauma bonding friends together.
Yeah.
And in the miniseries, they kind of had it there, but they didn't get it. Whereas this, especially when they all go and clean the bathroom together, it's they're really sharing their experiences, and it's the horrible stuff around them that's effectively pushing them together as a group. And it really comes across well. They really nailed the theme. And I can see why Stephen King was super happy with this adaptation.
Yeah. Yeah. The emotional stuff definitely felt more powerful in this. Cause I mean, you know, like the abuse stuff with like Beverly and the things like that definitely was done is a lot more intense in the remake than it was in the original. And just like all of the different, I didn't really think about the bathroom scene like that, but that's a really good point. It's a very, it's a cathartic moment. Like this big thing happened, only they understand it because they're all going through their own things. And even though it's different, it stems from the same thing as trauma, and cleaning it up together. Yeah, that's super symbolic. I didn't really think about it that way.
Yeah. And I've got to say, I think for me, the girl who plays Beverly and the guy who plays Richie Tozier are the standouts for me.
Yes.
They're really, really good. Beat Richie.
Yeah. And you know, I really liked Eddie. He was okay. So you know that part when he's like, he thinks the word placebo is gazebo.
Yeah.
He's like, these are gazebos. They're bullshit. Like, I think some of those like very human, normal kid moments. Because there are times like in these scenes when you're seeing these things happen, you almost forget, like, you're looking at children, but you kind of forget about the minds of children in these things. And so those kind of plugins periodically were really well done. You've got some of the awkward crush stuff, with Ben. You've got like him saying the gazebos thing, that I thought that was really funny. So there's like these reminders that kind of just pull you back into the fact that, like, they're having to deal with all of these things in real life on top of the now horrors that are happening. And they're still just kids. Like they're not, and they don't have anybody but each other. And it's just, those little things really do add to like the overall feeling of the whole film altogether.
Yeah, it's a great film. I can't knock this in any way, shape or form. There's not a single note that misses. And I wish they'd carried on and made the sequel as strong as they'd made the original.
Yeah. There's parts of the sequel that I like, but as a whole, it was nowhere near as strong as this.
No, there's parts of the sequel that I really love, but overall, I was kind of banging my head on the chair in front of me, going, "Why did you do this? Why?"
Yeah.
You had everything set up so perfectly. You brought in an excellent grown-up cast as well, and then you kind of just fumbled it over the line.
Yeah, the cast really, I remember when they started announcing the adults, I was very impressed with what they were able to come up with and who they cast. I mean, Bill Hader come on, like this cast was great. The only one I think of the bunch that I wasn't like, and I'm still not really 100% on board with, is the choice for Bev. But I think she did fine. I mean, the rest of everybody else I think did a great job. But there's some stuff about that one that just didn't hit it the same way at all. And I really hated the ending of the second one.
Yeah, swing and a miss. Ending of this is great.
Yeah, it is. It ends exactly. Yeah, well, not exactly like, but it ends.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't end like the book.
No, it doesn't end like the book, but it does end in a way that you would expect it to, and it all feels, very like, okay, like, I don't know, like, it's not over, because we all know that there was going to be more, and we know the adult story, or at least most of us do, and so you knew it was going to be more, but it felt good when it ended. You didn't feel like you were robbed of anything.
No, they managed to achieve very neatly and a lot better than Stephen King achieved the bond between them, because Stephen King's way of achieving the bond was not that great.
Nope. I read in an interview one time that he was like talking about that, because it came up like it was like a big thing. People were really bothered by it. I get that. And so he said, it's so funny to me that people can read an entire book about a child-eating clown or childhood abductions and all these things, and the worst thing that can happen is like preteen sex. And I'm like, well, I hear you, but also.
Yeah, also you wrote, I think the biggest get out for Stephen King on kind of anything he wrote in this period is probably the $2,000 of cocaine he'd taken that day. Is probably his biggest get out for anything. If he ever gets really pinned down, his answer to every question is going to be, yeah, cocaine. Really sorry, cocaine.
I'm really sorry, cocaine. Yeah. So it doesn't end that way, but it does have a good ending. So I think I know the answer, but what do you give this out of 10?
That's a 10. It's a 10. Perfect remake.
Same. Yeah, I'd give it a 10.
Wow, we got a good one. And we agreed.
We agreed on the last one. We just didn't rate it the same.
Yeah, this is true.
And actually, I was meaner than you. That almost never happens.
No, I'm saving my meanness for when we do movies you really like.
And they never saw another Angel or Scott video ever again.
However, there was a true crime documentary talking about Scott's disappearance.
I'd have to go really far to achieve that.
Yeah, I think I'd have to really annoy you to get you to go to the effort to book a flight, and that's a lot of work.
Yeah, and I don't really like to fly, and I'm lazy by nature. So
yeah, so I think I'm
probably safe.
Yeah, you could just call someone over here and get them to do it for you.
Yeah, Mark, he's closer.
He is closer. He's still 3 hours, 4 hours away from me.
That's nothing for us here. My family's 3 hours from me.
I wish my family were 3 hours. That was mean. I didn't mean that. Maybe I did.
You sounded like you meant.
I did, didn't I?
I really like this one. I don't think I have any complaints about it either. I loved this movie. Was scary, it was fun, it was different, it was, and it towed the line, like we always talk about with remakes, where it's like it has the old, but it also does its own things at times. So it seemed to be like a pretty good balance of the two things. Like we said, we knew some things were supposed to happen, but they still happened in ways we didn't know they were going to happen, and that made it an even better experience overall. So
yeah, and I really liked it. And apologies, the light just keep flashing. I'm trying to adjust my screen so I'm not sat in the dark. I'm trying to get the right level of brightness. There we go.
Oh, it's getting dark there though, right? That's what's happening.
Yeah.
And so
the sun is setting here, whereas for you it's like mid-afternoon.
Yeah, the sun's not going. It's obvious. I mean, don't get me wrong. I always look this white, but it's worse when the sun is coming through the window.
Yeah, I realized sort of midway through the video, I started looking almost like I was Pennywise hiding in the shadows, and I needed to
just like
I was one step away from going, "Hiya, Angel. You want a balloon?"
Yeah, I liked this one. This was a good one. I'm glad we talked about this one, because I think I've seen this one a bunch. I've only seen the new one like once.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
Part two, maybe twice.
Yeah, good reason for that though.
Yeah, totally agree. So want to talk about the other show? I feel like we should probably do that every episode until people get it.
Yeah, we can do. So over on at You Run Podcast on YouTube, there is a show. If you go and look at all the series that I've got, there's a series there, which is Voices with the You Run Podcast, where me and Angel talk about new movies we've not seen.
Yep.
That's all you need to know. It's very funny. There's lots of good. There is a game inserted in that, which we haven't recorded any of these yet. When you're watching this, there'll be some out, but right now, when we're recording, we haven't recorded any of these. Angel doesn't know what the fun game is. It involves a spinny wheel, very similar to Deadstream.
So I already hate it.
Yes. That's not for every episode. That's for special episodes.
God. You're the worst. Why did I agree to this?
I have no idea. When you said yes, I was like, amazing. Amazing. How many Deadstream references can I squeeze into every episode?
Yeah, that's the part that sucks about people knowing how you feel about things and they use it against you.
Yes, and I am that guy. Sorry.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not.
Okay, cool. Well, all of Scott's links, including the links to his YouTube, are going to be in the description for this episode, as always. We'll be back next month with another remake, continuation, or reboot, which is really the name of the game. It's not just remakes specifically. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Have a good rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend coming up, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you in October.